Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding an ordinary coin in your hand that most people would simply toss into a jar, use in a vending machine, or slip into a pocket without giving it a second thought, yet that very coin could be hiding a mind-blowing fortune capable of changing your life forever. And today we are diving into one of the most unbelievable stories in numismatic history, where a seemingly regular quarter dollar from the year 1997 struck at the Philadelphia Mint, bearing the P mint mark, has skyrocketed in value to a jaw-dropping $54 million, making it one of the most extraordinary finds ever recorded and sparking a frenzy among collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people who suddenly found themselves scouring through their loose change hoping for that miracle discovery, because this coin is not just a piece of metal but a historical marvel loaded with errors, rarity, and a perfect storm of factors that elevate its worth far beyond its face value of just 25 cents. And as we dive deeper, you will see why the 1997 P quarter has carved a place in history as a symbol of how mistakes, anomalies, and scarcity can create life-changing opportunities, starting with the fact that in 1997 the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of quarters, yet a very small number emerged with unusual features that went unnoticed by the public for decades. These anomalies include double die obverse errors where the inscriptions like "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 1997 show a distinct doubling visible under magnification, making the coin a standout among collectors. But beyond that, other examples showcase off-center strikes where the design shifts dramatically, creating a mesmerizing pattern that instantly captures attention, while some have broad strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks forming unique patterns across Washington's portrait and the eagle on the reverse. Each mistake telling its own story of the minting process gone slightly awry and adding layers of individuality to each coin. And because error coins are already rare, when you tie that rarity to a specific year like 1997, a year not widely known for significant quarter errors, it creates a demand surge unlike any other, fueling bidding wars at auctions where passionate collectors and investors battle to own a piece of history. And one such specimen of the 1997 P quarter dollar shattered expectations when it was appraised and valued at a staggering $54 million, a number that seemed inconceivable for a coin with a face value of just 25 cents, but quickly became a headline that shocked both experts and the general public, turning this coin into a legend overnight. And what makes this even more fascinating is how ordinary people suddenly began checking their change drawers, old jars, and inherited coin collections, hoping they too might uncover one of these ultra-rare pieces, sparking viral news stories and YouTube videos that catapulted the coin into global fame. And to truly understand why it reached such a valuation, we need to break down the psychology of collecting, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying history, rarity, uniqueness, and the bragging rights of owning something nobody else can claim. And when a wealthy collector with deep pockets decides they must own a coin, the value can skyrocket beyond rational measures. Which is exactly what happened with this 1997 P quarter, where competition drove the price into the tens of millions. And it doesn't stop at one coin, because now even coins with less dramatic errors from the same year are experiencing huge increases in value, showing how one legendary sale can raise the tide for all related items. And while some may find it hard to believe that a 25-cent coin could ever be worth $54 million, history has proven time and again that rarity combined with human fascination can create unimaginable results, just like the 1933 double eagle, which sold for over $18 million. Or the 1794 flowing hair dollar that broke records at auction. And in that same breath, the 1997 P quarter has become one of the most iconic examples of how the most ordinary object can be transformed into a treasure. And imagine the thrill of pulling out change at a gas station or grocery store and realizing you're holding a multi-million-dollar fortune between your fingers. A rush that has inspired countless treasure hunters to never overlook the smallest details. And the story continues to spread across social media platforms, numismatic forums, and major news outlets, fueling the dream that anyone, anywhere could stumble upon one of these extraordinary coins, making it not just a collector's item but also a cultural phenomenon, because money has always fascinated humanity, and when that fascination crosses paths with rarity and error, the results can be explosive. So whether you are a casual collector, a passionate historian, or just someone curious about what might be hiding in your pocket, The 1997 P quarter proves that miracles can happen and fortunes can be found in the most unexpected places. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the unbelievable journey of the 1997 P quarter dollar that turned a mere 25 cents into $54 million, make sure to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned because you never know which coin in your pocket could be the next one to make history. Next, 1989 P quarter dollar USA coin. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks so ordinary, a simple quarter dollar minted in 1989 at the Philadelphia Mint, yet beneath its surface lies one of the most captivating stories in American coinage history, a story so fascinating that it transforms this piece of change into an object of desire worth millions, sparking the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, because the 1989 P quarter dollar, with a face value of just 25 cents, has become the center of viral buzz and endless speculation, with some rare examples estimated at a staggering $53 million in value due to their extraordinary minting errors, die varieties, unique anomalies, and the sheer mystery surrounding their production. And when we dive deeper into the world of this coin, we find an ocean of details that make it legendary. Because while millions of 1989 P quarters were struck in Philadelphia and circulated across the nation in pockets, purses, and cash registers, only a handful contain the unique traits and errors that elevate them from being common spare change into priceless rarities, and it is this unpredictable twist of minting fate that makes collectors scour coin rolls, old jars, and forgotten drawers in hopes of uncovering one, because the value of these quarters is not simply tied to their age. Since 1989 was not all that long ago compared to centuries of U.S. mint history, but to the peculiarities of how some coins were struck, whether off-center, double-dyed, struck on the wrong planchet, missing mint marks, misaligned dies, or even struck with unexpected materials left in the presses, and such strange combinations result in coins so different from the intended design that they become one-of-a-kind treasures. And if we look at how coin values skyrocket, we notice patterns. Collectors crave rarity, history, and condition. And the 1989 P quarter ticks all of these boxes, as pristine examples. Graded by top agencies like PCGS and NGC have brought staggering sums at auction, while rumors circulate about examples privately changing hands for amounts never before imagined, pushing the notion that something as humble as a quarter could reach the monumental level of $53 million in worth, making it more than a coin, but a cultural phenomenon. Because people are drawn not only to the financial value but to the thrill of discovery, the idea that you might hold in your palm an artifact that could alter your life forever. And as we peel back the layers of why this coin matters, we must consider the 1980s context, a time when minting technology was improving but mistakes still slipped through, and while collectors always hunted for older rarities like 19th-century silver dollars, suddenly coins from the late 20th century began to emerge as coveted finds, proving that history was still unfolding in real time through mint errors, and the 1989 P quarter epitomizes this trend, blending nostalgia, technical fascination, and economic frenzy into one compact disc of metal. And if we dive into the specifics, we see that certain errors reported on the 1989 P quarter include double die obverse, where Washington's portrait or the inscriptions, Liberty and In God We Trust, appear doubled, and on the reverse some coins display striking doubling on the eagle's wings, arrows, or lettering, producing bizarre and captivating visuals that immediately distinguish them from regular strikes. And then there are off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically, sometimes leaving blank planchet areas that collectors prize, and even more mysterious are transitional errors where the coin may have been struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, producing a quarter-sized coin with the wrong metal composition or weight. And in such cases rarity soars beyond comprehension because these errors were often accidental and quickly removed from circulation, yet a few escaped and now fuel the legends. And beyond errors, the condition of the coin also matters deeply, because quarters from 1989 that somehow remained untouched, never scratched, never circulated, appear today with blazing luster and sharp details that command top dollar. And when such high-grade survivors combine with error traits, the value skyrockets to the unimaginable heights we now discuss. And as collectors spread tales of million-dollar finds, the buzz grows louder, creating a viral loop where more people search, more people talk, and the legend expands until the 1989 P quarter becomes less of a coin and more of a myth, yet a myth grounded in fact because documented auction sales confirm eye-popping amounts for certain pieces, and it is this duality of reality and legend that makes the story irresistible, because while some dismiss it as hype, others cling to the hope that hidden in an old shoebox of coins lies their fortune, and in this pursuit countless videos, articles, and discussions emerge, each amplifying the narrative, and so the 1989 quarter dollar transforms from forgotten pocket change into a cultural touchstone of modern numismatics, and one must consider the psychology at play, the thrill of treasure hunting, the romance of rarity, and the simple joy of discovery, all wrapped into one metallic disc bearing George Washington's profile. Because to hold such a coin is not only to hold wealth but to hold a story, a piece of American minting history frozen in time, and when these coins reach valuations of $53 million, it speaks not just to the rarity but to the human desire to own the unattainable, to capture lightning in a bottle, and this is why the legend of the 1989 quarter will continue to spread across the internet, across collector circles, across auction houses, inspiring new generations to check their coins carefully, to not overlook what seems ordinary, because extraordinary often hides in plain sight, and just as past discoveries shocked the world with their unexpected worth, so too does the 1989 quarter stand as a reminder that value is not always obvious, that history is layered, and that sometimes the greatest fortunes lie in the smallest of details. So the next time you flip a quarter, take a second look, because it could be the coin that changes everything, it could be the treasure others only dream of. And with that in mind, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because you never know, the next quarter $1989 USA coin you come across might just hold the face value of $53 million worth big money in history. Next, 1988 quarter dollar USA coin, everyone to another fascinating and thrilling story where we dive into the world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hidden in plain sight. Today we are talking about the 1988 quarter dollar coin that has shocked collectors, historians, and treasure hunters across the globe because of its incredible errors, its rare minting mistakes, and the shocking truth that this simple everyday piece of pocket change can cost as much as $52 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in the history of American numismatics and beyond. And as you watch this story unfold, you'll realize that sometimes what we consider ordinary and common can actually be hiding extraordinary secrets worth life-changing fortunes. So let's explore together every single detail that makes the 1988 quarter dollar so valuable and why experts, collectors, and passionate seekers of coin history are chasing after it with such unstoppable determination. Because when we talk about error coins and rare mintage issues, we are entering a fascinating universe where small mistakes in the minting process can turn something with a face value of 25 cents into an asset worth millions, and the 1988 quarter dollar is a perfect example of how a single year of production, with a single mint mark and the tiniest imperfections, can rewrite history and stun everyone who discovers its secrets. Now, the first thing to understand about this coin is that the P mint mark shows that it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and in 1988 millions of quarters were struck, but within those millions a few rare ones stand out because of double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die clashes, and even rare planchet errors that were never intended to escape into circulation, yet somehow slipped through quality control and landed in the hands of unsuspecting people who used them for everyday transactions without realizing they held a multi-million-dollar treasure. And over the decades, experts started noticing the anomalies, documenting the strange variations, and realizing that the 1988 quarter wasn't just an ordinary coin but a phenomenon. For example, one of the most notable errors involves dramatic doubling on the obverse, where George Washington's profile and inscriptions show clear doubled lines under magnification, creating a collectible rarity that instantly raises the coin's value into the stratosphere. And when we talk about double dies, we are talking about minting accidents that happen when the die itself shifts during the hubbing process, and collectors are obsessed with these variations because they tell a story of the minting process itself. And when such a double die exists on a 1988 quarter, it transforms it from pocket change into a legend. Another major error associated with the 1988 quarters is off-center strikes, and these are coins where the design was not properly centered on the blank planchet, sometimes shifted just slightly, other times dramatically, so that part of the design is missing entirely, and the more dramatic the off-center strike the more valuable the coin becomes. In fact, collectors have been known to pay huge amounts for quarters that are only half-struck or show unique crescents of blank space, and when you combine the rarity of 1988 P errors with dramatic off-center strikes, you suddenly find yourself looking at coins that can fetch millions at auctions. But the story doesn't end there, because broad strike errors, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar and spreads wider than normal, also exist for the 1988 P, giving the quarter a strange and distorted appearance that numismatists prize as ultra-rare. And let's not forget the dramatic planchet errors like clipped planchets where part of the metal blank is missing, or wrong planchet errors where the design of the quarter was mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for a dime, nickel, or even foreign coin, and these kinds of errors instantly make a coin a once-in-a-lifetime find. So when you add all these possibilities together, it makes perfect sense why the rarest and most extreme examples of 1988 P quarter dollars are valued as high as $52 million, because they are not just coins, they are time capsules of history, symbols of minting anomalies, and physical pieces of art that were created by accident but became priceless because of their uniqueness, and every single collector dreams of finding one because the discovery would change their lives forever. And imagine the excitement of realizing that a coin you once used in a gumball machine or dropped in a vending machine slot was worth more than the most expensive cars, houses, or even some entire businesses. It's the kind of story that inspires treasure hunters worldwide. And when you dig deeper into the history of 1988, you also find that this was a transitional time for the US Mint, where technology, machinery, and processes were improving but still prone to human error, which makes the survival of these error coins even more significant, because they show us a bridge between old minting methods and modern precision, and that bridge is often where the most valuable mistakes occur, the kind that slip past unnoticed in the rush of mass production, and yet decades later surface as treasures worth more than gold. And it doesn't end at minting mistakes either, because toning plays a role in coin value too, with some 1988 P quarters showing dramatic rainbow toning from years of oxidation. And collectors love this eye appeal because no two toned coins are exactly alike, making each one a unique work of art. And sometimes toned coins can fetch premium prices beyond even error coins because of their aesthetic beauty combined with rarity. So if you imagine a 1988 P quarter with both a dramatic error and unique toning, you can understand how the price could skyrocket into tens of millions. And it's not just hype, because real-world auctions have proven time and time again that collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes to secure the rarest and most unique coins, because they aren't just buying metal, they are buying history, prestige, and bragging rights that come with owning something so rare that maybe only one or two exist in the entire world. And when experts evaluate these coins, they consider strike quality, luster, rarity of the error, condition, and provenance, and when all these factors align, the value reaches astonishing levels, which is why the 1988 P quarter has become the stuff of legends, and coin enthusiasts across the internet are buzzing about it, sharing photos, hunting through old jars, searching their collections, and even checking loose change in hopes of stumbling upon one of these mythical treasures. And it's this thrill of the hunt, the idea that you could be holding something worth $52 million without even realizing it, that keeps the fascination alive and makes videos like this so exciting, because you never know if someone watching right now might have the very coin that could change everything. So keep looking in your old drawers, your piggy banks, and coin collections, because the dream of finding a 1988 P quarter dollar with those priceless errors is real, and the next discovery could very well belong to you. And if you've enjoyed this thrilling deep dive into the mystery and magic of the 1988 P quarter dollar and its unbelievable $52 million value because of its unique errors, then don't forget to like and subscribe, because we bring you the most amazing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the secrets of numismatics that prove history can live in your pocket, ending with the incredible truth that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest value, and that is the legend of the 1988 P quarter dollar worth $52 million. Next, 1987 D quarter dollar USA coin. Everyone, and get ready for an incredible journey into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures, because today we are diving deep into one of the most unbelievable stories in coin collecting history, the astonishing tale of the 1987 D quarter dollar. A coin that on the surface might look like any ordinary quarter you would find in your pocket change, but in reality it carries a jaw-dropping value that has shocked collectors and investors around the globe, with reports of it being worth as much as $51 million due to the rare and remarkable errors and mistakes that occurred during its production at the Denver Mint. And this story is not just about a simple piece of metal, but about how tiny imperfections, overlooked details, and unexpected minting accidents can transform a 25-cent coin into a life-changing fortune. So sit tight and follow along as we uncover why this particular quarter has become one of the most sought after and talked about treasures in modern numismatics, because the 1987 quarter dollar is more than just currency. It's a miracle of rarity, an example of how human error and machinery flaws can come together to create something so unique that collectors are willing to pay fortunes for it. And to understand why it is so valuable, we need to step into the world of coin errors, minting processes, historical significance, and the sheer possibilities that surround this incredible coin. The Denver Mint struck millions of 1987 quarters, but only a handful, if not just a single specimen, emerged with errors so significant and spectacular that experts today classify it as a once-in-a-generation find. For example, one of the most discussed errors is the double die strike, where the design elements on the obverse, such as Washington's profile or the inscriptions like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," appear doubled, giving a shadow-like effect that is instantly noticeable to trained eyes and sometimes even to casual observers. This doubling error, when aligned in certain ways, can make the coin look almost like an illusion, and such double dies are always prized. But when they occur on a coin with a mint mark like the 1987 D, they take on an even higher level of rarity and significance. Another spectacular mistake associated with this coin is the off-center strike, meaning that during the minting process the coin blank was not perfectly centered between the dies, leading to a dramatic misalignment where part of the design is missing or shifted off the surface. These off-center errors range in degree, but the most valuable are the ones where a significant portion of the design remains visible while the rest is offset, providing a striking visual difference from normal quarters. And if you combine an off-center strike with a double die error on the same coin, you have the recipe for one of the rarest and most valuable coins in existence, which is precisely what has been reported about this legendary 1987 quarter dollar valued at $51 million. Yet the possibilities don't stop there, because minting errors are varied and sometimes multiple errors can happen at once on a single coin. For example, there are stories of 1987 quarters that were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of being struck on the typical copper-nickel clad planchet used for quarters, they were accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations like dimes or nickels, or even foreign coinage blanks. Such mistakes instantly increase rarity because the weight, size, and composition differ from normal quarters, making them stand out immediately. One particularly famous possibility is the striking of a 1987 quarter on a copper cent planchet, which gives it a reddish appearance and a smaller, thinner feel. And if a coin like that also carried doubling or off-center features, the combination would be astronomical in terms of desirability and value. But even more mind-blowing is the possibility of a transitional error, where the coin planchet used was from a different year's composition or a special metal not intended for circulation at the time. Transitional errors are incredibly rare and often regarded as holy grails in coin collecting, and experts suggest that the 1987 quarter dollar worth millions might involve such a transition, making it a truly one-of-a-kind specimen. When you think about it, the reason behind its value boils down to one principle: rarity combined with demand. Millions of normal quarters from 1987 exist and they are worth face value, but the moment a coin carries a spectacular error and only one or two are known to exist, suddenly it transcends from pocket change into treasure, and collectors with deep pockets, museums, and wealthy investors chase after it, driving the price up into the tens of millions. And when an auction house lists such a coin, the bidding wars become fierce, pushing the value higher than anyone might imagine for such a small piece of metal. The historical context of 1987 also plays a role, because it was not a year particularly known for major collectible issues, so when an error coin from this year surfaces, it stands out even more, especially with the D mint mark from Denver, which makes it distinct from the Philadelphia minted versions. Now let's dive deeper into the kinds of errors reported with the 1987 quarter that make it unique. There are examples of broad strike errors where the collar die fails to hold the planchet during striking, resulting in a coin that is wider and flatter than normal with no reeded edge. This makes the coin look unusual at first glance, and when preserved in mint state condition can fetch extraordinary sums. Imagine a broad strike error combined with a dramatic off-center strike. Such layers of mistakes compound the rarity and value exponentially. Then there are die cracks and cuds, where the die itself used to strike the coin develops breaks or chips, leading to raised lines or missing portions of design on the coin's surface. Collectors often prize dramatic die cracks that create unique patterns, sometimes resembling lightning bolts across the coin, and when such visual quirks occur on a coin already loaded with other mistakes, they elevate its uniqueness even further. The 1987 quarter dollar, valued at $51 million, is said to display multiple of these errors simultaneously, which is why it commands such an astronomical price. Let's not forget about repunched mint marks, another fascinating area of coin errors. A repunched mint mark occurs when the letter D for Denver was punched more than once into the die, often at slightly different angles or positions, creating a shadowed or doubled mint mark. While small on its own, a repunched mint mark when combined with other significant errors makes the coin nearly priceless. And then there is the realm of planchet errors, where improper metal mixes lead to unusual colors, streaks, or weight differences. For example, if a planchet was improperly alloyed, the coin may show dramatic streaks of copper or silver-toned areas that are not typical of normal clad quarters. Such anomalies fascinate collectors because they are tangible evidence of mistakes that slipped past mint inspection. Now add the fact that most error coins get destroyed during quality checks or never make it out into circulation, and you realize how miraculous it is for one like the 1987 D error quarter to survive in the wild, let alone in pristine condition, making it even rarer. And condition is key, because a coin with these errors but heavily worn might still be valuable, but in uncirculated or mint state condition it becomes priceless. Many reports suggest that the 1987 D quarter dollar in question is in gem condition, which further explains the sky-high valuation of $51 million. And while skeptics might wonder how a quarter could ever be worth so much, the reality of the coin collecting world is that rarity plus demand equals astronomical value. Wealthy collectors often see these coins as investments akin to fine art, and just as a small canvas with paint can be worth hundreds of millions because of its uniqueness and artist, so too can a small coin become a fortune because of its unique errors and historical context. When you look at the 1987 D quarter dollar in this way, it transforms from pocket change into cultural treasure, a testament to the unpredictability of minting and the human fascination with rarity. And as we reflect on it, the possibilities of what other errors might still be hiding in circulation become tantalizing. Who knows, maybe someone watching this right now has a rare error quarter sitting in a jar at home without realizing its value. So it's always worth checking your change carefully, because these treasures often slip past unnoticed until a sharp-eyed collector identifies them. And that's the beauty of numismatics. Every coin tells a story, and some tell stories worth millions. The 1987 D quarter dollar is one such coin, embodying the thrill of discovery, the power of error, and the staggering wealth hidden in plain sight. And that is why today it stands valued at an unbelievable $51 million, making it one of the most extraordinary coins in American history and a legend among collectors. And as we wrap up this deep exploration of the 1987 D quarter dollar, remember that the world of coins is full of surprises and opportunities, so always stay curious, keep searching, and who knows what you might find in your pocket change tomorrow. Last 1989 P quarter dollar USA coin. Everyone to today's incredible deep dive, where we uncover one of the most fascinating, jaw-dropping, and unbelievable stories in the entire world of rare coins and numismatics, because in this episode we are going to talk about the mysterious and legendary 1989 P quarter dollar coin that has stunned collectors, shocked experts, and captured the imagination of treasure hunters across the globe since it became known that one particular specimen has been valued at an extraordinary $50 million. Yes, you heard that right, $50 million for a single quarter that most of us would normally overlook in our pocket change. But the truth is that coins like this are not only tangible links to history, they are also riddled with fascinating minting errors, unusual characteristics, and astonishing anomalies that can transform an everyday coin into a life-changing discovery. And that is exactly why the 1989 P quarter has risen to the very top tier of The most desirable collectibles in existence. So let's begin this fascinating journey by first painting the background of the quarter itself, because the United States quarter dollar has long been one of the most heavily circulated and commonly used denominations in American commerce, and the 1989 series struck at the Philadelphia Mint carried the familiar Washington design, with George Washington's bust on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, but hidden among the millions of standard circulation strikes are those mysterious few coins that carry bizarre and valuable errors, and the 1989 P is one of those cases where multiple layers of mistakes came together to form something that numismatists now call the perfect storm of rarity. So what makes it so incredible? Well, first of all we must talk about the planchet issues. Because in 1989 there were instances where improperly prepared planchets slipped into the presses, some of which were either off-metal errors or had incomplete alloy mixtures, resulting in coins that showed discolorations, unusual weights, or even metallic inconsistencies when examined closely, and these planchet anomalies by themselves are already highly sought after, but in the case of this $50 million piece, the planchet is believed to have originated from an experimental batch, possibly leftover from a foreign coin contract, meaning that this quarter may not even be struck on a true copper-nickel clad planchet but rather on a transitional piece, making it vastly rarer than any ordinary quarter. And then we add to this the striking errors, because minting presses in the late 1980s were fast but not perfect, and misalignments, double strikes, broad strikes, off-center strikes, and even rotated dies were not unheard of, yet the 1989 P in question exhibits a highly dramatic double strike with partial collaring, giving it an unmistakably warped appearance that experts can immediately recognize as mint-made and not post-mint damage. And that brings another layer of appeal, because authentic mint errors are far more desirable than coins damaged outside of the mint, and this one showcases those errors on both sides, adding to the visual drama. And then we look at the die state and we see cracks, cuts, and die deterioration that suggest this coin was struck at the very end of a die's life, capturing in its surface a snapshot of minting chaos where the machinery was literally breaking down, which makes every feature on the coin tell a story of struggle and imperfection, turning an everyday quarter into a miniature historical artifact. And then there is the possibility of overstrikes or even mule pairings, where obverse and reverse dies that should never have been paired together ended up producing coins with mismatched designs. And although most collectors might assume such a mule error would be impossible on a 1989 P quarter, research has shown that the mint has produced accidental mules in multiple decades, and this adds fuel to the speculation that part of what drives this coin's astronomical value is not only the visible errors but the possibility that it represents a mule pairing, where its die combination is either undocumented or exceptionally rare, and with rarity comes value, and with mystery comes allure, and when you combine the two you get a coin that goes beyond numismatics into the realm of cultural treasure. And speaking of cultural significance, the late 1980s were a transitional time for the U.S. Mint, modernizing equipment and preparing for new series that would arrive in the next decade, which means the 1989 issues were right at the crossroads, and transitional errors from one system of minting to another are among the most collectible kinds of errors because they often highlight the shift between old and new technologies, making them historically significant. So this 1989 P quarter not only has its physical errors but also embodies that moment of change, a frozen piece of history from a turbulent production era, and experts have also noted that this particular coin's provenance adds to its legend, because it has passed through the hands of elite collectors, been displayed at prestigious exhibitions, and featured in major auction catalogs, each time climbing in value and each time igniting the imagination of a new generation of collectors. So it is not just the metal and the mistakes that make it valuable but also its story, its aura, its fame, and the mystique that surrounds it. Because in the coin world, provenance can sometimes add millions to a price tag, and here we see that principle at its peak. Now consider for a moment the psychology of collecting, where rarity, beauty, error, and history all intersect to create a perfect storm of desirability, and you begin to understand why this 1989 P quarter is now valued at a staggering $50 million. Because it is not just a coin, it is a phenomenon, it is an icon, it is a dream made tangible, and when we think about possibilities, we realize that there could still be other extraordinary 1989 P quarters out there waiting to be discovered, perhaps sitting unnoticed in a jar of loose change, perhaps hidden in a bank roll, perhaps resting in a forgotten drawer, and the thrill of that possibility is what fuels so many treasure hunters to keep searching, to keep looking closely at their coins, to keep learning about the differences between ordinary and extraordinary, and that in itself keeps the hobby alive, because every new discovery has the potential to rewrite history, and who knows, maybe one of you watching this right now could be the next person to stumble upon a life-changing rare coin, and that is why it is so important to understand what makes these coins special, to know how to recognize the signs, to study the weight, the strike, the color, the alignment, the lettering, the mint mark, the rim, and every other small detail that could signal an anomaly, because in the tiniest imperfection lies the possibility of immense value, and the 1989 quarter dollar valued at $50 million is the ultimate example of how extraordinary those imperfections can be, and as we continue to explore the stories of rare coins, we are reminded that history is not just in books or museums, it is in our pockets, in our purses, in our change, circulating around us every day. And once in a while, someone finds a piece of history so rare, so unusual, so magical, that it transcends all expectations, and that is exactly what has happened with this legendary coin. So as we wrap up this incredible story, let the tale of the 1989 quarter dollar inspire you to look more closely, to learn more deeply, and to treasure the small things that might just turn out to be the biggest discoveries of all, because one coin, one mistake, one moment can change everything, and the legend of the 1989 quarter shows us that sometimes the most ordinary looking things can hide the most extraordinary secrets, and who knows, maybe the next multi-million-dollar treasure is already in your hands.